If you're over 70, there are changes happening in your body right now that most people don't pay attention to. Not because they aren't important, but because no one ever explained what they really mean. I've spent years watching people age, and I can tell you this. The difference between someone who stays independent at 75 and someone who doesn't often comes down to small things they started paying attention to years earlier. Things that seem too minor to matter. Things they wish they'd understood sooner. I'm Harold Bennett, and I've spent most of my life observing patterns. Not as a doctor. I'm not one. But as someone who's watched hundreds of people move through their 70s and 80s. Some of them stayed strong and capable well into their later years. Others lost their independence much sooner than they needed to. And what I've learned is this. It's rarely one big event that changes everything. It's the small signs people overlook day after day until those small things become big problems. Today, I want to talk with you about what I've seen, about the patterns that show up again and again, about the things that matter more than most people realize. This isn't about fear. It's about understanding. Because once you understand what's happening in your body and why it matters, you can do something about it. Small things, manageable things, things that can make a real difference in how you live the next 10 or 20 years. If you'd like more of these conversations, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe. But for now, just listen. What I'm about to share with you is important. The first thing I want to talk about is something I see constantly, and it breaks my heart every time. People who stop moving as much as they used to. Not all at once. It happens gradually. You might have noticed it yourself. Maybe you used to walk to the mailbox every day, and now you wait until you're already going out for something else. Maybe you used to stand while you talked on the phone, and now you always sit. These seem like small changes, comfortable changes. But here's what I need you to understand. Every time you choose to sit instead of stand, or ride instead of walk, your body gets a little weaker. And weakness, after 70, is one of the most dangerous things you can develop. Let me tell you about two women I know, Margaret and Susan. Both of them turned 73 the same month. Margaret used to be more active than Susan, but about 5 years ago, she started sitting more. Her knees hurt sometimes, so she figured rest was smart. She started driving to places she used to walk to, started asking her son to bring things upstairs instead of making the trips herself. Small accommodations that seemed reasonable. Susan's knees hurt too, but she kept moving. She walked slower, took her time, but she kept walking. She kept climbing those stairs, one step at a time. Today, Margaret needs a walker. She can't stand from a chair without pushing off with both hands. She can't carry her own groceries. Susan, she still drives herself to the store, still climbs stairs, still lives alone without help. Same age, different choices about movement. The difference between them isn't dramatic, it's cumulative. It's 5 years of small decisions, repeated daily. Your muscles don't care why you stopped using them. They only know you stopped. And after 70, muscle loss happens faster than it did when you were younger. Research tells us that people over 70 can lose up to 15% of their muscle strength each decade if they're not actively working against it. That's not just about looking strong. That's about being able to stand up from the toilet by yourself. About being able to catch yourself if you stumble. About maintaining the kind of strength that keeps you independent. So here's what I'm asking you to think about. Where in your daily routine have you started choosing the easier option? I'm not saying you need to go to a gym. I'm saying pay attention to the small movements you're giving up. And then, just 1 or 2 of them, start doing again. Take the stairs once a day, even if it's slow. Stand up during commercials. Walk to the end of your driveway and back. These sound simple, and they are. But simple repeated becomes powerful. The next thing I've noticed, and this one surprises people, is how many folks over 70 have stopped drinking enough water. I know that sounds too basic to matter, but stay with me here, because this is more important than you think. Your body's sense of thirst gets weaker as you age. You've probably noticed you don't feel thirsty the way you used to. That's normal. But here's the problem. Just because you don't feel thirsty doesn't mean your body doesn't need water. And when you're not getting enough, everything gets harder. Your thinking gets foggy. Your energy drops. Your balance gets worse. Your kidneys have to work harder. Even your risk of falling goes up because dehydration affects your blood pressure and your coordination. I've seen this pattern over and over. Joe and Frank, both 76. Joe keeps a water bottle with him most of the day, not because he's thirsty, but because he decided years ago that he'd drink a certain amount whether he felt like it or not. He fills up a pitcher every morning, about 6 glasses worth, and makes sure it's empty by bedtime. Frank drinks when he's thirsty, which isn't often anymore. Maybe 2 or 3 glasses a day total. Joe's mind is sharp. He has energy in the afternoon. He sleeps well. Frank struggles. He's tired by 2 o'clock. He gets confused more easily. He's fallen twice in the past year. Once because he stood up too quickly and got dizzy. His doctor told him he was dehydrated both times. Frank didn't connect his lack of water to his falls. He thought falls just happened because he was getting old. But they don't just happen. There's usually a reason. And often, that reason is something you can control. Your body is mostly water. Your brain is mostly water. When you don't have enough, everything works less efficiently. Doctors have noticed that older adults who stay well hydrated have fewer trips to the hospital, better cognitive function, and more energy. This isn't a miracle cure. It's basic maintenance. Like putting oil in your car. The car doesn't tell you it needs oil. You just know it does, so you check it regularly. Here's what this looks like in practice. Fill a pitcher or a large water bottle every morning with the amount you need to drink that day. 6 to 8 glasses. Keep it somewhere you'll see it. Drink a glass when you wake up. Drink a glass with each meal. Drink one mid-morning and mid-afternoon. You don't have to chug it. Just sip steadily. If you're worried about nighttime bathroom trips, drink most of it before dinner. This is one of the simplest things you can do, and it matters more than you might imagine. I hope this is making sense so far. If it is, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Now, the third thing I need to talk about is something that makes people uncomfortable, but I'm going to say it anyway. Many people over 70 have stopped challenging their minds the way they used to. And I'm not talking about crossword puzzles, though those are fine. I'm talking about real learning. New things. Difficult things. Things that make you feel a little frustrated because you don't understand them yet. Here's why this matters. Your brain, like your muscles, gets weaker when you stop using it in challenging ways. Doing the same familiar activities every day, watching the same shows, reading the same type of books, having the same conversations. That's comfortable. But comfortable doesn't keep your brain sharp. What keeps your brain healthy is struggle. Productive struggle. The kind that happens when you're trying to learn something new and your brain has to build new pathways to figure it out. Think about Carol and Nancy, both 71. 5 years ago, they both retired. Carol settled into a routine. Morning coffee, TV, lunch, maybe a walk, more TV, dinner, more TV, bed. Same shows, same patterns, same conversations with the same people about the same topics. Nancy decided to learn Spanish. She'd never studied a language before. It was hard, frustrating. Some days she wanted to quit, but she kept at it. Then she started taking an online course about history, something she'd always been curious about. Then she learned to use a computer for video calls with her grandchildren. Today, Carol struggles to remember names. She loses her train of thought mid-sentence. She repeats herself without realizing it. She's worried about it, but she doesn't know what to do. Nancy's mind is sharp. She remembers details. She can follow complex conversations. She learns new things quickly because her brain has stayed in practice at learning. Studies have shown that people who keep learning new things throughout their 70s and 80s have better cognitive function and lower rates of dementia. Not because learning prevents dementia entirely. It doesn't. But because it builds what researchers call cognitive reserve. Think of it like this. If your brain is a muscle and you keep exercising it with new challenges, it stays stronger longer. When problems do come, a stronger brain can handle them better. So here's my question for you. When was the last time you tried to learn something truly new? Something that made you feel like a beginner? It doesn't have to be a language or a computer. It could be a musical instrument, a new craft, a subject you've always been curious about. The key is that it should be challenging enough to make you think hard. Not so hard that you give up, but hard enough that you have to work at it. Start small. 15 minutes a day. Pick something that interests you. Give yourself permission to be bad at it at first. That's the point. The struggle is where the growth happens. Your brain doesn't care what you're learning. It only cares that you're making it work in new ways. The fourth thing I've observed, and this one is critical, is that people stop paying attention to their balance until after they've already fallen. But by then, damage is often done. A broken hip at 75 is not the same as a broken hip at 45. Recovery is harder. Complications are more likely. Many people never fully recover their independence after a serious fall. So this isn't something you can afford to ignore until it becomes obvious. Your balance gets worse as you age. That's a fact. The systems in your body that keep you steady, Your inner ear, your vision, your muscle strength, your reaction time, all of them decline. But here's what most people don't realize. You can slow the decline significantly. You can practice balance. You can make it better, even at 70, even at 80. But you have to pay attention to it before you fall, not after. Let me tell you about Robert and Walter. Both 74. Robert never thought about balance. He walked normally, lived normally, never had any problems. Then one day he stepped off a curb wrong and fell. Broke his wrist. After that, he became afraid of falling. Started moving more carefully, more slowly. Started avoiding situations where he might lose his balance. Uneven sidewalks, stairs without railings, walking in dim light. His world got smaller. His confidence got smaller. And because he moved less, his balance actually got worse, not better. Walter, on the other hand, started practicing balance exercises when he turned 70. Not because he'd fallen, but because he'd read about them somewhere and figured it couldn't hurt. Simple things. Standing on one foot while brushing his teeth. Walking heel to toe across his living room. Standing up from a chair without using his hands. Just a few minutes a day. For years later, he's never fallen. His balance is better now than it was at 70. He walks confidently. He's not afraid. And because he's not afraid, he keeps moving, which keeps him strong, which keeps his balance good. It's a positive cycle instead of a negative one. Doctors have noticed that balance exercises are one of the most effective ways to prevent falls in older adults. More effective than medication. More effective than just being careful. Because you can't prevent every situation where you might lose your balance, but you can make your body better at catching itself when you do. Here's what I want you to do. Once a day, practice standing on one foot. Hold onto a counter at first if you need to. Try to work up to 30 seconds on each foot. Practice standing up from a chair without using your hands. Walk in a straight line, putting one foot directly in front of the other. These exercises feel silly. They seem too simple to matter, but they're training the exact systems your body uses to keep you upright. And that training could be the difference between a stumble you recover from and a fall that changes your life. Stay with me here. This next part is important. The fifth thing I need to talk about is something people really don't like to hear. Many of you have stopped being honest with your doctor about what's really happening. Not because you're trying to lie, but because you're minimizing. You're explaining away. You're telling yourself and your doctor that problems are normal for your age, when actually they're warning signs of something that needs attention. I've seen this so many times. Eleanor and Barbara, both 77. Eleanor started feeling more tired than usual. Started having trouble catching her breath when she walked uphill. But she didn't mention it to her doctor because she figured, well, she's 77. Of course she's more tired. Of course stairs are harder. That's just aging, right? She didn't want to complain. Didn't want to seem like she was making a fuss over nothing. Barbara felt the same things. But she mentioned them. She said, I know I'm getting older, but this feels different. I used to be able to do these things, and now I can't. Her doctor ran some tests. Found out her iron was low. Simple problem. Simple fix. Within a month, her energy was back. Stairs were manageable again. Eleanor waited, kept explaining it away. By the time she finally said something, her anemia was severe. She needed more aggressive treatment. It took months to recover. And all that time, she was getting weaker from not moving as much because she was too tired. Here's what I need you to understand. Yes, some things do change with age, but sudden changes or changes that affect your ability to do things you used to do easily, those need to be checked. Your doctor can't help you if they don't know what's happening, and they can't know what's happening if you downplay it or don't mention it at all. Research tells us that many serious health problems in older adults start with subtle symptoms that get ignored. Heart problems, diabetes, thyroid issues, vitamin deficiencies, cancer, all of them can start small. All of them are easier to treat when caught early, but only if you speak up. So here's what this looks like. Before your next doctor appointment, write down anything that's changed. Anything you're doing less of because it's harder. Anything that feels different from 6 months ago. Don't decide ahead of time whether it's important. Let your doctor decide that. Your job is to report what you're experiencing honestly. Their job is to figure out what it means. The sixth thing I've noticed, and this is a hard one, is that people stop eating as well as they used to. Not all at once. It happens gradually. Maybe cooking for one person seems like too much trouble. Maybe your appetite isn't what it was. Maybe food doesn't taste as good as it used to, so you eat less. Maybe you're eating the same few easy things over and over because they're familiar and simple to prepare. But here's what happens when you don't eat enough, or when you don't eat enough variety. Your body doesn't get what it needs to maintain itself. Protein, which you need to maintain muscle. Vitamins and minerals, which you need for everything from bone strength to brain function. Fiber, which you need for digestion. When these things are missing, you get weaker. You heal slower. You get sick more easily. Your mind gets foggy. Your energy drops. I know two men, both 79. William still cooks real meals most days. Nothing fancy, grilled chicken, vegetables, a potato, eggs for breakfast, fruit for snacks. He plans his meals, shops for what he needs, prepares food even when he's not particularly hungry because he knows his body needs it. Samuel eats whatever's easy. Cereal, sandwiches, frozen dinners. A lot of his calories come from crackers and cookies. He's not starving. He's just not nourishing himself. William is strong for his age. Alert, energetic. He recovered quickly from a surgery last year. Samuel is frail. He's lost weight, but not in a healthy way. He's lost muscle. He caught pneumonia last winter and spent 2 weeks in the hospital. His doctor said his poor nutrition made it harder for his body to fight the infection. Doctors have noticed that malnutrition is surprisingly common in older adults, even people who have plenty of food available. It's not about access. It's about actually eating enough of the right things. And it matters enormously for maintaining strength and independence. Here's what I'm asking you to think about. Are you eating enough protein? That's meat, fish, eggs, beans, dairy. Your body needs it every day to maintain muscle. Are you eating fruits and vegetables? Your body needs the vitamins and fiber. Are you eating regularly, even when you're not hungry? Sometimes you have to eat by the clock, not by your appetite, because your hunger signals get weaker with age. If cooking feels like too much, make it simpler. A rotisserie chicken from the grocery store lasts several days. Frozen vegetables are just as nutritious as fresh. Hard-boiled eggs keep for a week. Canned soup with added frozen vegetables and some canned chicken is better than crackers for dinner. You don't have to cook elaborate meals. You just have to eat real food, regularly, in reasonable amounts. The seventh and final thing I want to talk about is something that affects everything else I've mentioned: sleep. I've noticed that many people over 70 aren't sleeping well, and they've accepted it as normal. They wake up multiple times a night. They wake up too early and can't get back to sleep. They're tired during the day but can't nap. And they think, well, old people don't sleep well. That's just how it is. But poor sleep isn't just uncomfortable. It affects everything. Your balance gets worse when you're tired. Your thinking gets slower. Your appetite changes. Your mood suffers. Your immune system weakens. Your body can't repair itself as well. Poor sleep makes every other health problem harder to manage and every healthy habit harder to maintain. I'm thinking of two women, Dorothy and Helen, both 72. Dorothy sleeps poorly, has for years. She's up 3 or 4 times a night, wakes at 4:30 and can't get back to sleep. She's exhausted by afternoon. Everything feels harder when you're that tired. She's more irritable, less patient, less motivated to exercise or cook or do the things she knows she should do. Helen used to sleep poorly too, but she made some changes. She stopped drinking coffee after noon. She started going to bed and waking up at the same time every day, even weekends. She made her bedroom darker and cooler. She started taking a short walk every afternoon. Within a month, her sleep improved. Not perfect, but better. And that better sleep changed everything else. She had more energy, more patience, more motivation. She felt like herself again. Studies have shown that sleep quality matters as much as sleep quantity, especially as you age. Your body needs that deep, restorative sleep to maintain itself. When you don't get it, everything suffers. So here's what you can do. Look at your sleep habits honestly. Are you going to bed at different times every night? Are you drinking caffeine late in the day? Is your bedroom too warm, too bright, too noisy? Are you napping so much during the day that you can't sleep at night? Pick one thing to change. Just one. Give it 2 weeks. See if it helps. If it doesn't, try something else. Better sleep is possible, even at your age. But you have to treat it as important, not as something you just have to live with. Let me bring this all together for you. Independence after 70 doesn't usually disappear because of one big event. It fades because of small things accumulated over time. Movement you stop doing. Water you stop drinking. Learning you stop pursuing. Balance you stop practicing. Problems you stop mentioning. food you stopped preparing, sleep you stopped protecting. The good news, and I truly mean this, is that small changes in the other direction can make a real difference. You don't have to overhaul your entire life. You don't have to become a different person. You just have to pay attention to the things that matter and make small, consistent efforts to protect them. Start with one thing. Maybe it's drinking more water. Maybe it's practicing balance while you brush your teeth. Maybe it's being more honest at your next doctor's appointment. One thing, done consistently, creates momentum, and momentum creates change. You're not too old for this to matter. You're exactly the right age for this to matter. Every day you maintain your strength, your clarity, your independence. That's a victory. Every small choice you make in the direction of taking care of yourself, that counts. I've seen people make these changes at 75, at 80, even at 85. It's never too late to start paying attention. It's never too late to do better. You're capable of more than you might think, and you're worth the effort it takes. If this conversation helped you, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And if you know someone who might benefit from hearing this, please share it with them. We're all in this together, trying to live as well as we can for as long as we can. Take care of yourself. You matter.